and that's that's criminal.
Yeah, yeah.
It's no way around that. The city was completely robbing them of their money. There were some people that paid, stayed, and fought, but the majority of them just said, "Hey, this isn't worth it. I'm going to leave and move somewhere else," and took the hit.
Okay. Welcome to House Rich, the real estate show. We talk to average people that do above average things in real estate. Today, our guest is Darryl Dibbs, the owner of the Resident Group, a real estate firm based out of Detroit, Michigan. So we're talking to him about his real estate journey, the housing market, Detroit real estate, and some other things. So appreciate you joining me. Could you introduce yourself to the good folks here in House Rich?
Hey man, thanks for having me, Dave. I am Darryl Dibbs of the Resident Group, where we believe anyone can build wealth through home ownership. That's been my motto. We started in 2019 in Detroit. My wife and I bought our home, uh, started making various other investments, and I've been teaching other people to do the same thing since then.
Okay, cool. So how do you even get to hey, I want to become a realtor in the first place? Like how do you even get to that position?
Well, it's actually funny because the way I got into real estate was I got fired from my job.
All right.
Um,
That was funny. Okay, all right.
well, yeah, it's a funny story because I was a janitor at 19, and in 2009 I was making $15 an hour, which is a lot for the time.
All right.
Um, so I'm top dog in my circle, 19 years old making 15 bucks an hour. And I'm working all this overtime, plant life, not really doing much. And then one day it just all came to an end. And I was like, well, what am I gonna do now? I don't
Uh-huh.
have a check coming in next week. I'm living off unemployment. Uh 700 bucks every 2 weeks.
Hmm.
And that just wasn't enough. I was married, I had a 6-month-old daughter, and I had to figure out something that I could do really quick for money without having very much education. I didn't finish college, graduated high school, went straight into the workforce.
All right.
Um, so I'm Googling and I'm like, well, what can I do without a degree that makes a lot of money? And my first mind was be a stockbroker.
All right.
But, you know, that costs money that I didn't have.
Uh-huh.
So the next best thing that I found, I was looking in sales careers, looked at selling insurance, looked at selling cars, um, and was watching a video on World Star Hip Hop about wholesaling houses.
All right.
Ended up going to an investors meeting, met a lady there who, was just overly generous with information.
Okay.
She told me to get my real estate license. Um, I did that, and been trying to figure out why everyone doesn't have one.
Okay. Well, so interesting. So I feel like everyone does have a realtor's license. Everyone just doesn't sell any any homes.
Yeah,
Like I
that's
think
true
the
too.
license, but actually like moving units is hard. So how did you kind of like get traction? Like how did you start to get how'd you get your first deal or your first client as a realtor?
My first client actually came from Zillow.
Okay.
I was doing uh, I forget the name of the service. Zillow ended up buying them, so it's Zillow Rentals now, but they used to be called something else. And as
Okay.
an agent, we had access to the MLS, and Zillow would let us market our listings for free. So what I would do is I would take homes from the HUD website, which is where people went to search for foreclosures,
Okay.
and I will market those homes on the Zillow rental site as as a first time starter homes. If you don't have a lot of cash or if your credit's bad, this is a good place to get houses because in Detroit, you get houses for like 5 grand back in
Mhm.
2009. And that was equivalent to what a down payment on a lease was for
Yeah.
your first month and security deposit.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, if you're gonna take that money, you might as well invest it and have it grow into something later. So I got my first deal, kind of middlemaning between Zillow and the HUD website.
Okay.
For those who don't know what HUD is, it's the hurt. Excuse me, choking on my coffee. Uh, Housing and Urban Development is a government. Uh, One of the branches, not one of the branches of government, but one of the government departments where they are in charge of, like fair housing, a regulatory administration of the government.
Oh, okay,
But,
okay, cool. So that's how you got your so it's just kind of like a little small deal. And then so when did you start to get the feeling that, hey, I kind of know what I'm doing here?
So probably after my after I got my first commission check,
Okay.
it was from one of my renters from Zillow. I went through that entire deal and something just clicked for me, and it was like, oh, this is all I got to do. I'm negotiating the deal, making sure the numbers worked, and making sure that my client was getting the win inside. I was good at it. I was good at identifying what numbers made a deal work and how to get to the closing table.
Okay. So what are some kind of tips right now? And I don't know if there's a tip as far as, folks, kind of winning deals in this market besides offering the highest number. And maybe that is the solution, but I mean, outside of like offering the highest number, what are some ways that folks can kind of, maybe present a better offer in this market?
So real estate deals are made up of two things. They're made up of the price, which is, just throwing money at it, and it's made up of the terms. That's everything else that's not the price in the contract.
Okay.
And when you can find out what a seller's terms are, even more than the price, a lot of times that's what's going to win you the deal. I'm dealing with a lot of situations right now where sellers are putting their homes on the market and they need time to find a house of their own before they move out, but they also need that cash from the sale to move.
Yeah.
So the way we've been winning a lot of our deals is offering what's called a lease back.
Okay.
And those lease backs are, you're basically renting to the seller to stay in the home for as long as they need to find another house.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I did that with one of my first home, but yeah, I did that for a couple days. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, because you need money to buy the home, but then you want to sell your home. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So how do you actually find out what the terms of those deals are? Is it experience, or are you actually asking the other realtor or the other realtor?
So it's a little bit of a dance. Most of the people I talk to don't give me that information willingly. I kind of got to do a little bit of a digging about what the seller owes on the home, how long they've been there, what area they're in, what area they're looking to move to, because maybe I have a listing that they can move into. So that experience, those relationships that you have with other agents really helps in the deal making process.
Okay. And so what are some tips you would say as far as somebody like I'm a first time homeowner or home buyer? What are some tips to where you would say, hey, this person, what's somebody be looking at when they're looking to buy their first home, basically?
Okay, so and that's a tougher question because everybody's looking for something different. It's not a one size fits all type of thing.
Well, let me rephrase that. What would make you say somebody's like ready to buy their first home? They would have maybe their funds ready or for their budget. Like, what are some tips that say, hey, this person is ready to buy their first home? Maybe I should phrase that way.
Okay, yeah. So some stuff to look for is one, the desire.
Okay.
That has to be the number one thing on your list. You have to want to own a home. If you don't, then it's just not going to make sense to you. There's no number I can give you. There's no amount of money that you can make. There's no motivation for you to start looking into a location and own a home if you don't want a home. So number one that me and my clients always discuss is, what is your desire? What's your motivation for owning this home?
Okay.
And if that's going to outweigh the convenience of renting.
Gotcha. And then so we start that process, and then how long does it, just kind of walk through the home buying process? So somebody's ready to go, they have or I guess, so when somebody's ready to go, kind of what's the next step you would say for somebody? Would it be talk to a lender, talk to a realtor, get the pre-approval? What would you kind of recommend next?
So those steps are kind of 1A and 1B. I'm of the mindset that you come to me first, and then I recommend you one of my lending partners. But that can work either way. You can go to the lender first and then come to me with the budget that the lender set for you, or we can talk about some options. I recommend you to a lender, and what I usually do is just hop right on Google Meet with my lending partners, and we talk about all your options right there. There's no reason for us to have a separate phone call, or I'm waiting on you to call them or them to call you. We can get it all right there done in the first consultation. Okay. So that way you're leaving with some actionable steps toward buying your first house. But do not go shopping for a house without a budget. Don't go looking on Zillow and all these other real estate websites without talking to a lender, without talking to your agent first.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense. And then so they got that pre-approval now. They called you. I'm ready to go. My budget is going to get me a $300,000 home. How does the next part work? Are you do you typically send clients homes? Are they saying, hey, I want to look in the zip code? Or how does that process work when you're kind of trying to fine tune that perfect home for the client? Or not perfect, but good home for the client.
So in the first step, when we have our consultation, we talk about some criteria, some must-haves, areas you don't want to live in, things that you got to have in the house. And once we set the budget, we make a list of all those homes in that parameter, and we set a showing schedule. Typically it's, around somebody's work schedule, or we just pick a day to go look at homes and make our offers from there. In this market, you got to be a little bit quicker. So, with all the technology out there, you don't need me to find you a house. You can look on Trulia, they've even got a Facebook marketplace for housing now. So there's no limitation on who finds you a house. Anyone can find you a house. Where agents come in, and I think this is lost on a lot of people, is actually getting you into the house and negotiating on your behalf to make sure you're not getting screwed. We're professionals at these real estate contracts and negotiations.
Okay.
You're paying for the service of our expertise. Not for us to, we're not tour guides. We're not just there to let you in the house so you can look around and say, oh yeah, I like this. Let's put an offer in. To construct that offer, to make sure that you're getting the house, that's what we're there for.
Gotcha. And so I skipped this part, but I recommend everybody, this is with your realtor and your lender, you got to do some sort of interview or question to that realtor to make sure that they're a good fit for you. So what are some questions you should be asking your realtor to say, hey, this is a good fit? Because it's a mutual fit. Hopefully they're a good fit for you, but you have to be a good fit for them as well. So what are some good questions they should probably ask you to see if you're good to go for them?
Yeah. So my consultations, we are having a conversation. Okay. It's kind of like dating. We're not getting married, but I know whether we're going to get along or not. I don't accept every client I come across. Every client's not going to get along with me. So a lot of people come with questions that have nothing to do with their situation. And, it's my job to educate them on what the process looks like, not the other way around. Uh-huh. So if you like that type of thing, then we're going to, we're going to be a good fit. If not, I may recommend that you work with another one of my agents.
Okay.
But during that interview process, quote unquote, the interview, we're feeling each other out. We're having a conversation to see if we like each other.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing. I think you need to be comfortable with your agent. You should be able to tell your agent anything. If you're having any type of struggle, any type of win, you should be able to talk to your lender and your agent and be open and honest about what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I think
if you don't feel that comfortable, then you probably need work with somebody else.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's super important. I think, especially with the realtor, with the lender, it's sort of numbers, you gotta trust them. But with the realtor, you're gonna be with the realtor sometimes, a whole day looking at homes. And I don't know if you drive in the car with your clients or they ride behind, but you're gonna be with that person for a lot of time, the weekend time, the precious hours of your week. So yeah, you should hopefully like each other, I would say. And so how is the Detroit housing market? And so I know, like you kind of mentioned, back in the day, you could scoop up homes for like $1,000, $5,000 there. And some people who saw the vision, they have made a killing. I mean, how is the housing market in Detroit right now?
Detroit is finally one of the premier markets in the country.
Uh-huh.
It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming. It's the mindset is finally shifting that we are a metropolitan area.
Uh-huh.
And for a long time it was just put on the back burner for one reason or another. That's another conversation. But but the market here is normalizing to where a $2,500 square foot brick home is going for $200,000 as it should.
Yeah.
Whereas 5 years ago, you could get that same $2,500 or 2,500 square foot house for under $100,000, which is ridiculous. That's unheard of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, did anything specific change in the market, or just I don't know if anything happened 5 years ago, or did just I don't know, did anything specific happen with the market, or just kind of started to catch up?
It was one of those perfect storms, kind of lightning in a bottle type things with inflation, coronavirus, low mortgage rates, and also a low housing market at the same time as increasing housing on the West Coast. When West Coast home prices became unlivable, I sold 20 homes just to people on the West Coast in one summer.
Okay.
They were coming over here. I was showing them homes in a specific area, and they were like, "We get the whole house for that much?"
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they were, because where they were coming from, 200,000 barely gets you a studio. You can maybe buy a loft outside of the city. They were completely shocked that they could buy a whole house, 4 bedrooms, multi-floor colonials for 200 grand. That didn't make sense to them.
Yeah, that was me when I moved from DC to Dallas, and I was like, you can get a nice place for $250,000. Like, huh? Like, I was like baffled. I was like, because I just had no idea of the housing market outside of that DC bubble, where when I got here in 2017. No, I got here early, but I bought a condo in 2017 for like $250. And like I tell my wife, like, that condo in DC where it was at, like, it was right. It overlooked the park. That probably would have been like an $800,000-$900,000 condo. Like, it could have blew my mind. I was like, wow, I see why people leave that area. That's kind of crazy how that works geographically with the home prices and all that.
Yeah, especially with this new coming of age, companies are realizing that remote work is actually more profitable for them.
Uh-huh.
Having people at home using their own internet, not paying leases for these buildings for people to come work in, is the next wave of working. So that allows for the mobility, is allowing for people that are living, working in California, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, to move to the East Coast or move to Miami, a place where there's no income tax, or just opportunity to build more wealth with the money that they're making. That opportunity didn't exist 5 years ago.
Yeah, most definitely. The company I work for, they're in San Francisco. I've never met any of my employers in person. My interviews were all on Zoom. Like, it works perfect. It works perfect for me. Like, yeah. So, and like I said, it has no impact on my job at all. Like I said, I don't think I'd be any more productive in the office than I will be now. Probably more productive now because I don't have to drive. Exactly. I don't have to do the 2-hour trip I used to have to do when I worked in a physical office, when I actually worked here in Dallas. So, yeah, most definitely.
Just think about that. If you work from 9 to 5, right? You're usually pulling up to the office around 8:50, 8:40, 8:45, 1:45. You're walking in, you're grabbing your coffee, you're sitting down at your desk. You probably don't start work until 9, 10. Mm-hmm. If you're at home after that commute, 9 times out of 10, you're eliminating, getting dressed. You're eliminating the commute to work. You're not as drained when you start work. and you'll probably start on time.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I got on Christmas sweatpants right now, and that's what I wore to work today. So yeah, and definitely, like I said, I work from like 7 to 3:30. That's my schedule, just because they let I start work when I want to, and so like it's just I couldn't imagine going back to like a physical office anymore. Because like I said, I wake up at like 6-ish, take the dog out, I start work sometime between 7:30, and I'm done between like 3:30 or 4 o'clock. And it's just like I just can't even fathom what I was doing in the past, wasting 2 hours like going back and forth on the road. And so transition sort of from my work life back to the interview. And so like I know there was an article out here in Dallas where I don't know how they're going to do it. I actually didn't read the article, I just saw the headline, but they're looking to ban investors from buying homes in the Dallas market. To in theory stop with the home price escalating. I'm curious, what are your thoughts about that? Do you think that would have any impact actually on home prices?
So there are pros and cons to it. I agree with it. I think their reasoning is online. I'm not sure how they're going to execute it. We live in a free market society. There's no, if you ban me from doing one thing, it was happening on the HUD website. The HUD website, they opened it up to homestead first. Homestead is if you're going to live in the property. Okay, they will open it up to homestead for a week, and then if no one bid on it for a homestead property, then they will open it up to investors. We all know that investors were buying those houses saying that they were going to live in a homestead. So I think the same thing is going to happen where like what I'm saying is Dallas, and this is happening in other places around the country too. They're talking about doing it in Detroit to create some type of affordable housing market. And I don't know if that's the best strategy long term, but I like where their head is in trying to mitigate housing becoming out of control, because there's going to be a point where somebody's going to have to choose between compromising their living standard and the other option is homelessness.
Yeah.
So that's, when you got two bad choices, that's not an ideal situation.
Yeah, like I said, I always wonder how they're actually going to enforce that or even put it in place, because I think like everyone talks about, like your everyday investor, like maybe me or you, who may own 1 or 2 properties, like they're not the ones moving the needle. It's the companies that are buying like hundreds of homes a month that really move the needle. And I feel like those companies are going to lobby or do whatever they do to not have the legislation. But like I don't see it passing or whatever's happening with it, just because the people that really move the needle are not going to just be like, just going to close up shop with their company. Exactly. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what actually happens with that, or if it could even be put in place. I don't think there's any chance that it could be in the first place.
Think about what they're doing. They're saying they're saying that they want to depress the housing market. like slow it down. Prices are going up too fast. And I think they're on the wrong side of it, because if you depress the housing market, you stop wealth accumulation, right? You stop the equity that people are earning on their investment. But at the same time, you're not forcing employers to pay more so that people can afford these inflated prices.
Yeah.
So I think that's backwards for them to, be working one side of the coin without bringing the other side up. It's not equitable.
Yeah, it makes sense. Sometimes you actually gotta let the free market do its thing, I guess, or whatever the chips may fall. And I think that's the last time where we me and you would preach just, you gotta own something. So I mean, if you own something, when the excuse me, when you own something, the prices go up. That's great. If you don't own anything and prices go up, that's when it sucks. So I mean, excuse me. So, Yeah, so like, you know, you can at least control. I mean, when you get a mortgage, your principal and interest rate is locked in. I mean, taxes will go up, insurance will go up, but I mean, their principal interest rate is locked in, you know, for the next 15, 20, 30 years. When you rent, it's just going up exponentially. And so that's the thing why you need to own something. You know, a lot of folks, you know, I always say do whatever you want to do. Some folks, you know, don't want to buy a home. That's on them. But in my opinion, you just need to own something, just for the simple fact that you have to pay a living expense. So you might as well own where you live, even if you don't plan on buying any sort of investment property or anything like that. That's just my 2 cents.
Exactly.
There.
And I don't think the emphasis, like I hear a lot of gurus say, you know, your primary residence is not an investment. You know, it's a liability, and they're completely negating the equity that you build on that home while you're living in it. At the same time that housing is going up, you know, you can look at any chart. Over time, housing prices have increased, hasn't gone down. When you add that to what you're paying into the mortgage, you're on your principal, you're paying that down. When you're paying that principal down, you add that to the equity to see how much you're making on that house. So yes, it is an investment, as long as you bought in the right location. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, like here in Detroit, you can buy $1,000 home, right? and that sounds crazy to people. You know, that's a fact. You can buy $1,000 home. If you tear that home down, you probably make 10 grand off the land. If you build that house up, let's say you put 20 grand into that house and sell it for 50. You know, these are bottom floor prices where no matter what you did, buying that house for $1,000, you made money. So whether that was your primary house or an investment, you can't lose investing in something that appreciates over time.
Yeah, most definitely. And how does that work? So I always hear about, you know, the Detroit Land Bank, you know, where people are buying homes for $1,000, $5,000. Why is Detroit selling homes for $1,000? Then two, why isn't everyone just why don't I buy a house for $1,000? And then yeah, how does that process work? Because it seems like, hey, buy a home for $1,000. There's no way you can't make money. Like, why are they even selling homes for so cheap?
Yeah. So the Detroit Land Bank is another government sponsored program where we had a mass exodus, two mass exodus, one in 1980 and another in the 2000s with the crash of the auto industry. The first exodus, you know, people left, never came back. We lost jobs. The second one, people were laid off. We went into a depression. So a lot of homes went into foreclosure, and that was compounded with the housing crisis in 2008. So we were already losing population because of job loss. And then the housing crash just kind of toppled down on top of that. So we've got a city that's 60% empty. We went from a population of over 2 million down to 600,000.
Okay, wow.
So all those homes, you know, they're just sitting there. They're either deteriorating or, you know, just sitting empty because no one could afford to pay anything on them. Taxes weren't adjusted. There's a lawsuit going on about that right now. So taxes weren't adjusted for no one came out to reassess the taxes after the housing market crashed. There were foreclosures from people that were on ARM loans whose interest payments just ballooned and skyrocketed. So those loans became due. So they went into foreclosure. A lot of people just walked away from their home because they couldn't, you know, take the equity out of them. There just weren't a lot of good options from a period of 2000 to 2010 in Detroit for the housing market. So the solution to that was, all right, the city's like, all right, we got all this inventory that people have lost their homes to tax foreclosure. So these houses belong to the city. We've got to get them back into the taxpayer base so that our city can start making revenue. Didn't help that Detroit was going through a bankruptcy at this time either. So we were under state governance We had an emergency manager set in place instead of the mayor over our budget and over pretty much all things in charge that dealt with the city.
Okay.
So someone had the bright idea, let's take all these houses and just sell them back for what people can afford. So they started with having the tax auction. It was one of the most popular tax auctions in the country. Wayne County released Detroit's properties because we had so many. They released them to be their own separate entity, and the Detroit Land Bank was born. Okay. We have two here. We have the Wayne County Land Bank and we have the Detroit Land Bank.
Okay.
And in the Detroit Land Bank, they started auctioning off those homes for $1,000. So you could buy a 2,500 square foot house in a desirable neighborhood. Now, the price started at $1,000. So those homes, may have went for 12 to 20,000, but you're still getting a 2,500 square foot house for less than the taxes would be in a year.
Yeah. I guess so. What is the maybe I don't know if it's feasible now to like buy these houses, but what was the con? Did you have to be like back taxes? I'm trying to think like in hindsight, why wouldn't have everybody just said, hey, let me buy a home that's way under market value and just sit on it for a minute, like, or maybe everyone should have and they just didn't see the vision. But what's like the cons? It seems too good to be true.
Yeah, so the cons were you didn't a lot of the houses you couldn't get into them until auction day. So sometimes you were buying sight unseen.
Okay.
You just knew it was in a good zip code.
Okay.
And then at the time, Detroit was one of those markets where, it was even being portrayed in the media. Everything was trash. The whole market was down. So a lot of people were saying, "Oh, well, that's not a good investment because it's in Detroit."
Yeah. That's what I heard from my POV, not being a local. That's what I would just kind of hear, ancillarily. Yeah.
Yep. So we had two catalysts, two billionaires live in the city, Dan Gilbert and Mike Ellis, bought up. I'm rough estimate 10 square miles of a 46 square mile city. So they own a quarter of the city between these two billionaires. Both of them built their own ecosystems. Dan Gilbert with what's now Rocket Companies. It was Quicken Loans back then. Bought up probably 40% of downtown and just renovated each building one at a time. He made that a desirable area. Mike Ellis did the same thing with what's called Midtown, which is a little bit further up. He did this before his passing. His family is kind of maintaining it now, just kind of sitting on the properties. But that's what it's called. People would call that, gentrification. But if nobody wants it, and somebody comes in and fixes it up, this is what has to happen in order to increase property values.
You
got to put some stuff down there that's desirable so that people are attracted to the area. And that's what's happening around Detroit. There are investors coming in, putting desirable things in so that people want to live here.
Okay, so cool. Okay, so old Dan Gilbert and Mike Ellis, they kind of turned around the Detroit market just by buying it up and basically creating value, essentially, is what they did.
Yeah, they created value downtown, midtown, and then there are some players in the neighborhoods that follow suit. So I want to give them full credit for revitalizing Detroit, but they put a lot of money into it.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then, so do those opportunities still exist today, or is it like I'm going to land? I can buy $1,000. Well, I can buy $1,000 home right today.
You can go on buildingdetroit.org and buy a house from the land bank today for $1,000.
Okay, it's in the hood though. What's
exactly? It's going to be in the hood until you develop that land. And what I was recommending 5 years ago, I had some developer clients that came in. They were like, "Well, what do we do?" I say, when we start looking at these houses, when you pick one, you're going to buy everything within 2 miles. Okay. And you're going to develop those 2 miles, put everything you need in it, a grocery store, a meat shop, farmer's market, probably gonna need a playground. It'll help if you have a school in the area. But these homes are gonna need to be, it's a massive project if you're going to get a return on your money.
Okay.
And the ones that listened made a lot of money. I just, one of my clients, he just retired, moved down to, he's got 2 houses actually. He bought one in Atlanta and he bought another one in Georgia. He drives in between both, and he visits his last house up here in Detroit during the summer.
Okay.
But he was a retired police officer, started working with me in 2020. And in 2 years, he made over $2 million and retired down south. So the opportunity was there. It's always been here.
Wow. Okay. And so I don't know how much you know about it. You briefly mentioned it, but I did see an article about like the lawsuit where basically you kind of mentioned that a lot of folks lost their home. And this is another article. I just saw the headline and didn't read it. I guess you kind of explained it, but they didn't adjust the taxes once the property prices were falling, and that's why folks kind of lost their homes. I saw like $500 million or something in over taxes.
Correct.
So I don't know. How long is that? I don't know if it's a lawsuit been going on, and what is a possible solution? Because they're going to can't really give folks back homes that somebody else is currently living in.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there's no amount of money that can fix what they did, right? These people were put through, mental anguish, loss of their home. That's traumatic.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a dollar amount that could give those people peace of mind. But you can quantify it. You can definitely quantify. For one, at least give them the difference in the taxes. So however much you overcharge them, or however much they were unable to pay, that amount, one, needs to be forgiven and they need to be made whole on that end. Two, you need to give them the appreciation that they would have gained in their home had they not lost it.
Okay.
That's the starter, just to make things fair.
Yeah, the break even. Yeah.
Like I said, there's no amount of money that I can put on their mental anguish and their suffering for losing their home. Because that is just the worst case scenario. What else can you do to me after you forcibly remove me from my home or tell me that I have to go? I can't stay here anymore because of a mistake that you made.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like they were quiet about it. These are not people that were I want to be clear, like, these people were not delinquent on their taxes before it went up. These are people that were paying their taxes every year. The housing market crashed. They're asking the city for assessments, and they're paying $5,000 in taxes on essentially a $30,000 house.
Mm-hmm.
And that's criminal.
Yeah.
It's no way around that. The city was completely robbing them of their money. There were some people that paid, stayed, and fought, but the majority of them just said, "Hey, this isn't worth it. I'm going to leave and move somewhere else," and took the hit.
Okay, got you. Thank you. And then so what it transition into kind of the business model. So I know you work at EXP. So that's one of those companies that I always see. I just see a lot of stuff about on the internet, and so I know one of their business models is you get like shares of the company. Is that where you get like stock, or how do you talk about the EXP business model? I just see a lot of stuff about it on the.
I mean, it's really simple. It's one of the best compensation plans in the industry. You get an 80-20 split. 80% goes to the agent, 20% goes to the company, and then you also get referral fees for people that you bring into the business. The company takes the 20% that they earn and will pay you 3.5% of that 20% that they earn for bringing that agent into the company.
In perpetuity, or is there a cutoff?
No, that's it. So there's a cap on it. You can make up to $2,800 per year.
Okay.
Yep, and that's called a revenue share model. So basically, you're sharing in the revenue that you're sharing in the money that this agent made for the company until you reach $2,800 in a year.
Okay.
Yep, and they also award you because it changes all the time. So, obviously, as the bigger the company gets, that stock award is going to get smaller and smaller. When I first arrived at the company, they were giving away 100 shares per agent that you brought on. Now it is $400 worth of share, which is about 20 shares.
Okay.
Yep. So for every person you bring on, and like I said, stock price fluctuates. I think it's around $13 a share right now. But yeah, for every person that you bring on, you're awarded stock. One for them closing the deal, and another award for you bringing them on.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
And so, can you talk about you said you have your real estate team right there. How many folks do you have on the team? You can talk about the team a little bit for anybody.
Yep. So we've got
looking for agency.
Yeah, definitely. So I've got 4 people on the team right now. Each one of us is running our own brand. We are called the Resident Group, and we believe that anyone can build wealth through home ownership. Each member of the team is a home owner, owns investment properties. We practice what we preach. And, we're looking for agent partners around the country that are looking to do the same. One of the reasons that I partnered with EXP was for that opportunity to be able to go into other markets and find like-minded people, to help grow the brand and help grow this message that it's easy to build wealth if you're doing the right things. We're making real estate really simple for people.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. Got one final question for you. This is the last question I asked everybody. So let's say I give you $1 million, but you have a week to spend it. You have to spend it all in 1 week on a real estate or real estate related items. What would you do with it?
Oh, I'm buying houses. I'm buying 2 miles.
I gotta do what you mentioned before. Okay.
Yeah. I'm buying 2 miles worth of real estate. I am redeveloping that land, putting in a couple franchises, a Starbucks, a grocery store, maybe a shoe shop, somewhere to get clothes, somewhere to get something to eat. And I'm building an empire from there. $1 million is more than enough. Like you said, you only need 3% to leverage. Leverage a conventional loan at 3%, man. I can get office space and everything. And still have some money left over.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right, gotcha. Start building the empire. So where can the good folks find you at?
So on Instagram, all social media, you can find me at Darryl Dibbs, DarrylDibbs. If you want to meet with me, have a Zoom like we're having right now, buy a home, sell a home, you can go to DarrylDibbs.com. And also, if you're an agent, you can follow my team page at resgroup.homes.
Okay, cool. And all that information will be in the bio, or not the bio, the description on YouTube or the podcast, wherever you're listening to this right now. So like I said, once again, appreciate you. Glad we finally were able to connect with this thing. Appreciate your time. Appreciate the knowledge and insight on the Detroit market, and really everything else real estate related. And there's no outro to this podcast, so it is over.
Appreciate it, man.